Welcome to another episode. We're up to part 3, Nick.
We're up to part 3.
Yeah, by the way, I should introduce myself. This is Vic Azim. I'm here with my co-host.
Well, he already said my name. It's Nick Arcana.
We're going to be going through the entire series, one by one, focusing on part 3. And my very first theory is that disco music at the beginning the best music in all of the Friday 13th series? I think so.
Nope. I prefer Freddy vs. Jason's music.
What?
Yeah, you can never go wrong with metal.
Makes you feel like you're right back at the disco, huh, Nick?
No.
How
old do I look to you?
If we were live in the 70s, we'd be doing this in the clubs.
I'm about to say, how old do I look to you?
Okay, on to the more serious thing. So, Chris Higgins of the famous Higgins Haven.
Yes.
This little unknown spot in Crystal Lake apparently has a lot of unknown spots because it's a huge lake. There's so many areas to explore, as we're going to find out in the movies. But Higgins Haven, a family-owned establishment where young Chris would bring her friends to die. Okay, now, in many of these movies, you have a friendship group that doesn't always add up. You have characters that seem like they wouldn't be friends, the ones that are always just antagonizing each other. This particular group of friends, they seem like they're all pretty much friends, and it makes sense to me, except for 2 standouts.
Who are those?
Why are the 55-year-old Cheech and Chong couple tagging along with these 18, 19-year-olds?
Something tells me they're just the uncle and aunt of one of the characters.
Okay, first, humor me on this. We can establish those 2 are not 18, 19-year-olds, right?
No.
They're in their 40s at least, right?
I'd say late 30s.
They look old enough to be all their mom and fathers.
Yeah, I'm going to say uncles.
So, they didn't meet them in school, but they're in the back of the van. They're just tagging along. Big weed heads, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Cheech and Chong ripoff.
Yep.
Why are they in this movie? I don't understand. They're just out of place.
To die.
It's not like the kids are giving them free weed, I don't think.
No, the kids probably brought them along so they could get free weed.
This feels like they had the cast, and then they were like, the body count's not big enough. Let's add 2 random characters, but let's make them 45-year-old weed heads who have nothing in common with these teens that they're going to a camping trip with.
Come on. Every junkie wants to go to a lake house where they can camp, have fun, get murdered viciously. You know, every weed head wants that, okay?
If you were a weed head and on the way to camp, you ran to a guy in the middle of the road who tells you, you've been warned.
I mean, I'm too high to give a shit at that point.
I feel like in all these movies, if Crazy Ralph or somebody tells me there's a death curse here, this place is cursed, I'm going back in the direction. I
feel like this homeless guy was possessed by Crazy Ralph.
He did seem like a distant relative, right?
Yeah.
He had the same spirit.
And the eyeball.
I have warned thee. I have warned thee. Look, that's what I'm talking about. He has an eyeball, which I assume is probably one of the characters from part 2.
Nah, I think it's probably one of the 2 that died at the very beginning.
Jason, how strong is he in this movie? Because he lifts Rick.
Who's not a small guy.
Not a small guy. I think Rick may actually be taller than him.
And bigger.
Lifts him by the head with 2 hands, off the ground, feet in the air, crushes his cranium. I
think I know what it was. It was the fact that Shelley got reprimanded by Rick because Rick's car got beaten. So Rick was mad at Shelley. So Shelley, in his anger, possessed Jason to give him that little extra oomph to pick him up by his head and squish it.
Now, more impressive strength-wise, though. When Chris is in the living room calling for Rick, Rick flies through the window like a dart. At a superhuman torpedo speed, he flies through the window. That means Jason had physically lifted up Rick's body, dead weight body, by the way, and throws him with such force that he flies into the window at 18 miles an hour. How strong is Jason?
Or the Predator came in and helped him with that.
Why you gotta do this, man? You know, we're flying straight, and you gotta take us into some oddball territory. Where does Predator fit in this movie?
It's just to throw the body. Jason's like, hey, I can't lift this. I need you, before you start going into the woods to try and kill Arnold Schwarzenegger, before he gets to the chopper, I need you to pick this big-ass motherfucker up and hurl him into that window.
Get the Crystal Lake! Go! What are you doing? What are you waiting for?
I promise you, a Predator could have done that. Human Jason, not so much.
Okay. Jason is working with Predator in part 3.
Just for that scene.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, we don't exactly see what throws him in. For all we know, Rick woke up to try and eat brains, and when he threw himself in, he hit his head on the table.
This version of Jason might be as strong as zombie Jason based on what we're seeing here.
Just for this scene.
Okay, now let's get into the meat of this whole thing. There's one very controversial scene in this movie that's been debated amongst at least 6 fans in Idaho of the series. And we want to address this so we can at least entertain them. The question is of the flashback that our main character Chris has. Now, in this flashback, as told by Chris, she was at her house, Higgins Haven, with her parents. Something happened where she ran out into the woods.
She got slapped by her mom because her mom was not happy that she was not home.
Runs into the woods where it's raining, and she decides to take a nap by a tree.
Yes.
With most woods areas, you'd be safe taking a nap, but not in Crystal Lake. She hears some crackling behind her. She hears some noises. She looks up, and old Jason, looking as eager as ever, is on the ground crawling after her. Now, what was Jason's intention here? Well, first let's establish this. Did this actually happen? Was this a figment of her imagination, or was she actually attacked by somebody?
Well, I doubt it's a figment of her imagination, because why would she see Jason as a figment of her imagination?
Specifically, she sees part 3 Jason.
Yes.
So, okay, so we can establish that this did actually happen. By the end of the movie, her mental health is pretty messed up, but at this point, she's still reasonably normal. Mm-hmm. What we know of Jason, at least, based on even the past movies before this and future movies, he's not really a rapist per se.
Nope.
It's really
he's
not
a killer.
It's not his MO. He kills.
Yes.
When he confronts a woman, there's 2 possibilities. He
Kills
kills
them?
them, or they make him think of his mother, and then he can maybe take you hostage, or you can manipulate him how you want to manipulate him. This didn't happen with Chris. He just sees a girl. Now, he does seem very different in this scene because he's like on the ground crawling after her.
He really wants her.
But to kill her, I think.
That's what I'm assuming.
But at one point when he gets a hold of her, he's just dragging her away, basically. So he's I guess, trying to take her back to his shack.
Well, she did kick the knife out of his hand.
So he has to keep control of her while he finds the weapon, probably.
Yes.
So from our perspective, we don't think Jason's actually trying to rape her because that just never comes up again in the series.
Or, just to throw this in perspective. So Jason sees her. He's thinking, such a beautiful woman. I do want to make her mine, but I don't want to be nasty about it.
Okay.
But in his only way of communicating is through violence. So what he does
He doesn't know how to approach her and ask her out on a date.
He doesn't even know how to talk. So he grabs her and he tries to take her home so he can woo her, so he can make her fall in love with him with Stockholm Syndrome.
Basically take her prisoner and hold her hostage until she decides, hey, I actually love my capturer.
However, her dad finally shows up like she wanted. She wanted her parents to come and worry about her so much that they would find her. Her dad shows up. He had a shotgun ready because it's the woods. You never know what you're going to find. And then he shoots Jason in the leg.
Okay, now you're getting to the other part I was going to say is basically...
How did she get away?
If this had happened, how did she get away? Because she claims that she woke up in her parents' bed and they never talked about it. So if the parents did intervene, they don't say anything about it. They decided the best course of action is to act like this never happened.
Well, that makes sense because if the parents didn't intervene and they just found her in the woods, their question is going to be, what the hell happened?
And this happened, timeline-wise, we think this happened a couple of years ago because in the flashback, she still looks like she's old. She looks like she's at least 16, 17 in the flashback. Right. So it happened a couple of years ago in the Friday 30th timeline. This is probably somewhere between the time where Jason killed Alice and the events of part 2. If the father approached Jason in the woods with a shotgun, is Jason running away, or is he like, hey, I can kill you, father? But
if the father come out and shot him before Jason saw him, like say he shot him in the leg or the arm and pretty much scared Jason because he's like, oh shit, you're not afraid to use that thing, I'm going to run. Because we never see Jason go up against someone with a gun throughout any of the first 4 movies.
There's one problem with the entire theory of the parents getting involved at all.
Why would they let her daughter go back to that place?
They would have sold the place or not let her go back. You can act like nothing happened, but you wouldn't be like, that said, there is some killer in the woods who would try to attack my daughter. So her going back to me indicates that they found her. It's like something else had to I don't think the parents could have seen Jason because then it brings up for her safety, we're not letting her go back.
Well, to be fair, if the father shot him, Jason did run, but he sees blood. He's probably thinking, okay, well, he got shot with a fucking shotgun. He dead.
He's not letting he's not a couple years later letting his daughter go back unless he doesn't know she went back.
Or for all we know, he probably died.
But I don't know if he. I think she would have brought that up more as like recent trauma if her parents had died.
I doubt it.
Because the way she's talking about her parents.
The way she's talking about her parents, she didn't like them.
Not past tense though.
She still didn't like them.
Okay, well.
So to be fair, she could be like, yeah, my parents are dead. Fuck them.
Yeah, but you're just doing a lot to support the theory that the dad came out with a shotgun. But it's, again, they would have.
Well, how else is she going to get away?
Again, if you know a mass killer's in the woods, then if someone tried to rape if some mountain man in the woods was like trying to rape your daughter, I just don't see you even keeping the place. I think you sell Higgins Haven then. Maybe Jason saw Predator, or maybe these animals that you're hyping up, maybe they scared Jason away, like a bear came, and Jason was like, oh shit, and ran back.
Well, I don't think human Jason can take on a fully grown mountain bear.
If the parents had seen her get almost raped in the woods, they would have done something in a way where it's like, okay, we're not going to tell her about this, but she doesn't have access to go back to the cabin then. We're either going to tell her to stay away, or she's not going to have keys or something, because then basically when the parents find out what happened to her now, they're going to be like, oh shit, she probably got attacked by the same guy again. And the parents should just pretty much take full responsibility for that then. That's their fault.
Well, hell, to be fair, she didn't even need keys. Rick was already inside.
How the hell did Rick get in, by the way? Rick trespassed into the damn thing to get there, so.
Exactly, so. He apparently either already had keys himself, because if the parents moved from that area, that for all we know, that's probably their like summer vacation area that they only go to once a year.
I just think the parents found her, brought her back home, put her in the bed. And then
Jason just left her?
That's what I'm struggling with. But I don't think, maybe something did chase him away, but I just don't think it was the father. We have our theories about what happened to Chris. We just don't know.
Only one makes sense. I don't know why Vic's saying that Jason just dropped her and left her.
Maybe... No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying something may have happened that chased Jason away, but I don't know what.
The Predator.
Maybe it's
Predator already threw Rick through the fucking door.
When I watch it back, clear to me that Shelly and Vera are the main story.
Yes.
For the whole first half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're clearly following their, can't say a love story because it's an unrequited love story.
We're pretty much following Vera and Shelley's whole thing of getting to know each other and actually coming to terms not as lovers, but more friends.
With potentially Shelley's slowly growing on her.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe down the line, it's not realistic in this one movie for them to get together, but maybe has a chance later on.
Especially after this event, if they had survived.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that my biggest theory of the movie is that this movie would have been way better if you had just made them the main characters and followed them to the end versus Chris and Rick, who really don't have any chemistry as a couple. It's really forced and weird.
Yeah, but also there could have been some good characterization you could have had with both Vera and Shelley. Vera kind of started off almost regretting that she's coming there because technically Shelley's her date.
Yep.
Whereas, as we see right before she dies, she is getting more used to him. She's actually starting to develop more friendly feelings towards him.
Yes.
And then you got Shelley, who's your typical, well, no one's going to love me anyway, to him finally, it could be classified as mental breakdown, but him finally telling Vera, was like, look, I already knew you weren't going to like me. So there's no point in me trying to be the man you want.
He displays some very common psychology, which is, I'd rather get any reaction out of her versus no reaction. So I'm doing these pranks and stuff because I'd rather her think I'm a jerk versus think nothing of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that brings to the final question theory. Shelley, in the backseat of the van,
Yes.
is a very small, almost magician-sized small case with him.
Mm-hmm.
Which she's like, that's all you brought? I was like, yeah. And she's like, what's in there? I was like, that's my whole world. Throughout the movie, Shelley's going to showcase an abundance of materials, of things that he has at his disposal for his pranks. He's going to have a wetsuit.
Yep.
A mask.
Yep.
A big spear.
Yep.
I think a couple masks, I think.
A couple masks. Don't forget the axe that goes into your head.
Yeah, the axe in the head. Let's cut back now to the very small case that he had with him in the van.
So I know how.
What the hell?
I know how.
How did he get all this stuff there?
For anyone who grew up in the 90s like me, would know Disney Channel had original movies. One of those movies was Halloween Town, where the grandma, played by Debbie Reynolds, who was Carrie Fisher's mother in real life.
Oh.
I just wanted to bring that up just to bring it up. She also had a bag the size of, let's say, from my foot to about halfway up my calf.
Yes.
Not that big, and about as long as this table. Sounds like a decent size until you find out she pulls out full-grown costumes out of there. She has candy that just kept coming out the yin-yang. She pulled out a chicken. Mm-hmm. She pulled out a fucking pitchfork. She pulled out a bowling ball. Now, you tell me,
what?
Shelly's bag, just after Shelly died, so what my theory on this bag is Shelly's bag is actually the grandma's bag. The grandma sold it to Shelly because Shelly had that inquiring mind. And then after Shelly died, the bag went back to the grandma from Halloween Town.
For all the bad theories you've had, this is by far the worst.
Anyone who grew up watching that movie is going to love that theory.
For you to connect a random Disney movie, Halloween Town, to the Friday 13th universe, you should be ashamed of yourself, all right? Let's call it a week, and next week we're back with the Theories of Friday 13th Part 4. Ah!